And good afternoon. So during that intro, I noticed that it said it lost connection with my mic. So let me know if we can hear everything.
TJ, you are kind of quiet.
Through. So just a quick technical glitch. How about now?
That sounds better. Although that also sounds like there's a lot more room noise now.
I am going to jump out. I'll be right back.
Okay. Well, hello, everybody. I get to vamp for a few minutes. Little soft shoe. Hopefully TJ will be joining us soon and I won't have to inflict my singing upon you. Because nobody wants that, especially me. And I'm going to apologize in advance. A thunderstorm is blowing through right now in Copley, Ohio. So if you hear a lot of booming in the background, that is probably me.
Okay, it looks like I can hear you now. So we're doing better.
Yep.
We're doing
You're
good.
still a little soft.
Still a little soft. Okay. Relaunch here. Okay, and we are good to go. How about now?
Better.
Are
Still
we nice and loud? Can everybody hear me out in the internet world? Hoping we can.
Oh, okay.
Sounds okay now. Okay. So let's go ahead and kick this thing off. Thank you so much for joining us today. Sorry for the little glitch there. That's actually the first time that's happened in like months that I've had an audio issue. Knock on wood. But we're going to go ahead and get kicked off into today's Friday Focus, where we talk about the photo industry as a whole. Like what's going on? What are the juicy rumors? What's the hot goss, as Matt likes to call it? What's going on in the photo industry this week? And I always want to start off with sharing kind of a creator of the week. So here we have Lorenzo Johnson Photography, who, and all you have to do to get chosen for this is to use hashtag the Pixel Connection. Just some great off-camera flash photos right up by the lake. Just some great work. So we wanted to celebrate this work by just kind of sharing it with you guys, the audience. And we do urge you to use the hashtag so that way you too can be our creator of the week. So thank you so much for doing that. So a few housekeeping notes. We are open at the store 10 to 7 Monday through Friday and 10 to 5 on Saturday. So we would love to see you in store. If you don't feel comfortable coming in the store, that's okay. We totally get it. We have curbside pickup available as well as free shipping on thousands of items in our store. And if you do come in, I feel like we have to let you know that we're doing our part to make sure everything is wiped down, sanitized, everything is nice and clean in order to make it a comfortable shopping experience for you. So again, we're trying to do our part here to minimize any risk for anybody shopping at our store. So what are our goals for today? So first and foremost, we want to update you on the photography related news that you might have missed. There's a lot of news that happens throughout the week in all different genres, whether it's, breaking news to travel to the economy. This is kind of our little week, our weekly little corner of the internet in which we just talk about what's going on in the photo industry. And if this is your first time joining us, my name is TJ Houston, and I'm the business development manager here at Pixel Connection. And my friend Mike Vrobel here is a customer of ours. So it kind of gives us these two different looks at the news and the market and what's going on in the photo industry. And the number one goal is really to pull you away from the fear, the uncertainty, and the doubt, that FUD of what's going on in the world, and pull you in and remind you that you have this awesome hobby, this awesome passion called photography. And if we can just talk about that for an hour every day on Friday, that's an hour that you're not worried about the other stressors in your life. So think of it like therapy. And I'll go ahead and I'll write you a bill for this therapy. How's that sound? Just send the checks. The check is in the mail. I think that's what they say. And also, I want to get you motivated. We want to get you motivated to try something new, something outside of your comfort zone, and hopefully see that growth, because it might turn into something that you may have not thought to photograph in the past. So that's why we do have that inspiration section. So let's jump into the news. We wanted to remind everybody that we do have an announcement coming this week from Panasonic Lumix. And this is pretty much all we have as a dealer so far that we know about. We know that they are having this launch event, and we can kind of see an outline of the camera, the new Lumix S5. And Lumix USA also put out a little teaser video on their Instagram account. So if you head over to at Lumix USA, you'll see where they have the short little video of Todd White, one of the ambassadors from Texas, who is using the camera and kind of some of his feedback so far. So excited to see what Panasonic puts out in this camera. And it's exciting to see that it is the S lineup. So again, something in the full frame. I'll let you do it, Mike. The L mount what?
The L mount Alliance.
Exactly, the L mount Alliance.
I also want to comment on that teaser video. I feel guilty mentioning it and not being able to show it to our viewers, but there is nothing in that video that isn't in this picture. That is the most carefully shot teaser video I've ever seen. Panasonic obviously knows the internet will go through this frame by frame. So it was perfectly shot. So there's nothing in there that actually tells you anything about the camera that you can't see in the picture we have on screen right now.
Right. So it's definitely going to be a full there. And there are some rumors floating out there that you can go check and see. I don't know anything about the camera yet. So I'll be watching right along with you guys to see what is really coming forward with the new Lumix S5. So this is one that is going, I swear this has been dominating the news for the last couple weeks, especially now that the R5 and the R6 are shipping, is this whole overheating debacle, if you will. And I remember early on, you and I had talked about it, and we're like, at least Canon's getting out ahead of this. And we, good job, Canon, for not trying to lie to their users or have users find out, that just doesn't, it overheats. And then I think it was last week we talked about how it might be an artificial break where, they're just, it's kind of a crimp or a cramp in the hammer, the Canon hammer, the cripple hammer.
Canon cripple hammer is coming for us all. It's the flaming Canon cripple hammer now.
Exactly. So I wanted to share this. There's two news things here. Number one is there is a new firmware coming, 1.1, and upon reading it, one of the things is that they are definitely fixing. They're fixing a lot of the basic bugs that are. You see this almost with all cameras that come out now very quickly after there's a firmware update to fix bugs that they might not have tested, because there's no way for Canon to test this camera in every single instance. Like, they're not going to run up to the top of the highest mountain in the world to test to see if this EF lens from 30 years ago works with an adapter. I mean, they're just not able to do that type of testing. So those kind of bug fixes are in there. But the interesting one was one that had to do with record timing, and that fact, longer, or I believe in the notes they say fixes the record issue. But it doesn't sound like it's going to give us more time.
Yeah, they haven't officially included any information in the release notes, which nobody ever includes information in the release notes. It's always "and other bug fixes." But a couple of the YouTubers seem to have been told verbally that they've changed the way the overheating is measured, and it is including multiple sensors in the camera, including an external sensor, to try to get the ambient air temperature. And I'm a little cynical, because based on the earlier information and the workaround that we're going to talk about in a second, I think previously there were no temperature readings being taken. It was entirely timer based. So I think this is them, scrambling to get out a fix where it actually checks what the camera's temperature is before it starts throttling, which is a good thing.
And real quick, I wanted to circle back with all the technical issues. We didn't say hello to people. So I do want to jump back and say hello. Sorry, I went out of order. I just wanted to jump right into it because I felt like I was behind the ball. So hello, Mam Fan. He's been waiting a whole week in front of his computer since the last one we left. No, he is excited to be here for for the show. So thank you. Mike Giuliano, he was our creator of the week not too long ago. He is excited, getting that pumped up music. Jim Summers looks like he's going to be shooting about 15,000 frames this weekend. So I remember my first shoot. I'm just kidding, Jim. Putting his D4 and D5 to the test this weekend with some barrel races. And then a question did come in. Good morning, Joey, and good morning, Les. The question that came in, will the S5 be micro four thirds or full frame? With that S designation, it seems like it is going to be full frame. GX, those are the micro four thirds designations. So it looks like it will be a full frame camera for the L mount. So just wanted to, and then we'll jump back into the news here with Canon. So the other article here is this hack stops the R5 from overheating. And there's been a couple that have come out. One involves like shoving a screw into the camera. This one involves Scotch tape and I think a broken off toothpick. And I want to take a step back from this and say there's two things at play here. Number one, you have YouTubers that are fighting for views. Number one, I don't suggest anybody shove a screw in your camera. If you want longer record times, fine. And you need, like, if this is going to be on set and you need this, then find the right tool for the job. Don't try to make something work the way it's not supposed to be made or not supposed to work. But also, just because you can do it doesn't mean there's no way for you to stress test all of the items inside the camera. So Mike and I were talking a little bit pre-show, and there was an article that came out back in June about Sony and a weakness in the image stabilizer. So, that could also be at play here, where the R5, it could be that it's not necessarily the sensor, or it's not necessarily the PCB, the main board. It could be another aspect of the camera, and they don't want that to fail. So, I don't really think that anybody purchasing this camera should be using any Scotch tape, toothpicks, and or screws in order to get longer drive times, if you will. But I do hope Canon, I hope this wasn't a misstep by Canon and they are being overly cautious, with this, and they can kind of open it up a little bit or figure out a different way to, manage either the countdown timer or actually start getting the thermal readings. Because we saw a couple weeks ago where there was someone that was able to get those readings off. They were able to monitor the temperature from the firmware through the development kit. So, I just hope that Canon can figure this out. And it's not something that we have to wait for the R5 Mark II in order to do the things that this camera promised.
Yeah, and I think that's what most of these YouTube videos were about, was showing, hey, Canon, doing this with a timer, and if we defeat the timer, suddenly it seems like we have unlimited heating, is not the way to go about this. No. That said, I want to second what TJ's saying. Please don't be taping sensors and popping batteries out in the middle of filming or even after you've stopped filming, because I'm sure Canon has these thermal limits for a reason. And that reason is you don't want to cook the electronics in your camera, and melting your CPU is not going to help you. So,
right. And remember, it's like we're not doing a Pinewood Derby car in the backyard, right, either. Like, these are very sophisticated, very expensive devices, and the engineers, they work around this stuff every single day. So, maybe they didn't bring out the Scotch Magic tape, and maybe they didn't think about that, but I'm pretty sure they have, good solutions for the problem long term. So again, I saw these and we had to put them in here just to kind of caution people, like, this is not the right way to do a professional production. And it will definitely, there's a good chance it will brick your camera. So I loved this article because I do love my Panasonic cameras. Panasonic Manager Micro Four Thirds is a precious asset, and it's here to stay. And we've talked a lot about, especially in the last couple of weeks, just about Micro Four Thirds and where's it going with Olympus kind of being bought out. Is Micro Four Thirds even going to be around next year at this time? And if you take a step back and look, Micro Four Thirds is a very successful, Lumix is very successful with, bringing new cameras to market. It's a system that's been around for over 10 years. So, I don't really think it's going anywhere. It is here to stay. And Yamane, in this article, he also talks about how the real effect is on more of the point and shoot market and how that's being eaten away by cell phones. So it was a very honest and upfront article / interview that came out. So we do urge you to, actually go read about it. But it is nice to see, Panasonic, saying, we are here to stay. We are still developing Micro Four Thirds. We're still behind Micro Four Thirds. It's just L mount, the full frame was just to complement, it's just another area that they are exploring, but they are not abandoning the Micro Four Thirds mount, which is good because it's a great lens lineup. It's the right tool for the right job for the right person. You know what I mean? If you want small, you want lightweight, you want rugged, you want really great video, really high-end video codecs, there's no reason to go elsewhere but, the Panasonic and the Micro Four Thirds for your implementation and what you want to use it for. So it's good to see that it's here to stay.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear Panasonic come out and say that because I agree with their statement. There is a place for Micro Four Thirds in the market. As you said, lightweight. The things I liked about it were the depth of field. It gives you extra depth of field, and that's useful in video especially. And extra reach, like if you're shooting wildlife or anything that's a distance away, the smaller sensor gives you extra reach in your lenses. And so Micro Four Thirds has some advantages, and I'm glad they came out and said, there are things that Micro Four Thirds is good at, and there are things that full frame is good at, and we're going to play to the strengths of both of those instead of just saying, well, full frame forever, get rid of Micro Four Thirds. So Absolutely. As we've been saying a lot recently, it's not dead yet.
Bring out your dead. Bring out your dead. So yes, it is here to stay. And again, I'm excited for this. I just love that there is competition in this market. Again, having shot Panasonic for many years, and seeing the advantages of that crop sensor. Again, it's cool to see that they actually came out and was like, hey guys, like we're not getting out of this game. So this is an interesting article, and I'm going to let you talk about this one a little bit. And this is taking apart the Canon RF 600mm f11 IS STM. Wow, that's a mouthful. So our friends over at Lens Rentals did a teardown, as they do with new lenses. And what did they find with this thing?
Well, I have to lead with, I have a real weakness for these lens rental teardowns. I have no idea what they're doing. I don't understand the optics. I don't understand the electronics. But I read every one of these all the way through just because it's so fascinating watching them take apart these high-end lenses. And what they found is, I think as he's showing you here in the picture that I plopped in there after TJ last looked at the slide, so sorry about that.
No,
this is the actual lens barrel element that Canon designed this lens so you can lift essentially the outside body off of the lens element without having to disassemble all of the individual lenses within the lens element, which they thought was a great thing, except that they hadn't figured that out when they first started taking the lens apart. So they had started disassembling this lens body, and it was giving them all sorts of problems. Which is the other thing I love about the Lens Rentals teardowns is they're not afraid to tell you when they screw up and they remove something and suddenly springs are shooting all over their office and they are crawling under desks to find them. So I follow their blog just for the lens disassembly posts.
Absolutely. And when that came down to it, it was they want nothing to do with this lens as far as repair, that they are definitely going to be sending that back to Canon for repair. But again, it was just an interesting article just to see how these lenses come together. A lot of times we just, we use the lenses. We don't really think about, all the different moving pieces that are in there. And it was interesting to see, even though it's not, weather sealed, but there were felt gaskets in there. And just again, if you want to nerd out on some photo awesomeness, definitely take a look at the Lens Rental blog where they take apart all these different lenses, and they do some tests with them too. So before they tear them apart and sometimes break them, they do some tests with them so you can see sharpness, you can see the MTF shards, all that stuff. So if this is a lens that you're looking at and you want a little bit of information about it, you want to know about the build quality, really any lens, they do a great job of exploring all the different ones that are out there.
Right. And I did want to mention that they're not just doing this to do it. For some of their lenses, they're renting lenses and getting them back. And if someone tells them they dropped a lens, they have the ability to potentially fix it without sending it back to Canon or Nikon or Sony or whoever. And so part of why they do these take-aparts is to see if this is something they could theoretically fix rather than having to wait for the lens to get shipped out to official repair. If they can do it, then it's a lens they can get back into their rental lineup quicker. So they know what they're doing, but it doesn't always work out the way they assume it's going to when they start. And those are the fun ones to read.
Right. Moving on. So this was an interesting article. Leica is moving some of their production to Portugal. So what's happening here is there were some tariffs that went out a couple months ago with some of the trade war stuff. And so Leica's like, well, we still want to sell or still need to sell these. And we don't want, to be affected by, this big cost difference. So what they've done is they've actually moved their production of these lenses to Portugal. And they're promising that the same quality that people know and love is what they can expect. So a couple things here. So do you think that people will care that they were not made in Germany? I mean, is it worth, $500 to have an actual German made Leica compared to a Portugal made Leica if they're promising the same quality?
Yeah, that is an excellent question, because it always has felt to me like one of the big selling points for the Leica brand is made in Wetzlar, Germany, or I think I'm pronouncing that right, but I might be hacking it up. If so, I apologize. But if you are the kind of person who can spend the kind of money for a lens, so this is a 50 millimeter f1.4 that lists for $5,000, and are you going to spend, save the $500 to get the Portugal made one? Because the German made lenses are still available in the US. Right. They're just marked up $500 more because of the tariffs. So I'm really curious about whether this is a smart move from Leica for their brand.
And it's not the first time they've done it either. So back in, I want to say it was like in the 70s, they did manufacturing in Canada. So I want to say like the M6, there's a Canada version, and any Leica people in the chat will correct me on this, but they had Canada versions. Maybe it was the M4. Anyway, they did have some production there. And then there was actually an M10 Canada special edition, I think, that came out. But they've done this before, and the quality, they promise the same quality, which is fine, but it does have that little bit of tarnish in that it's not the actual German. So I don't think that a lot of people are going to buy the Portugal version. I think that they would spend the extra money to get the actual, German version of this. And for what it's worth, that production facility in Canada is no longer there. So if this was successful, then I would think that the one in Canada would still be there. I don't know all the inner workings of it, obviously, but right. I think this is maybe a temporary fix for people that might want or are okay with the Portugal version. But if I was in a position that I was spending, $4,500 or $4,600 versus $51, just for resale value alone, I would personally be buying the German. I would buy the actual glass personally.
Right. And I have a couple other comments. One is apparently this Portugal facility has been there. They're not spinning this up just for these lenses. They have always done some manufacturing in Portugal. So I wonder if they're playing a game of, well, we start the assembly in Portugal and then we ship it to Germany for finishing. But I know we say at the beginning, we want to avoid, all the outside world stuff and focus on our cameras here. But this is, the two parts of the story that I just find depressing are, one, trade wars don't have winners. They just have losers. We have to pay more for the stuff. The manufacturers have to charge us more. It's not really good for anyone all around. And our current administration doesn't seem to understand that tariffs cost consumers like us more. The other problem is this kind of shows the global marketplace and how things are moved all over the world wherever labor is cheaper. And Leica, a brand that has made their name on we do it in Germany, is doing stuff in Portugal. And again, I find that vaguely depressing.
Right. And what were they doing in Portugal? Do we know what that factory was up to?
I did not find the details, but I did see that it is an existing manufacturing plant for Leica in Portugal, and they just added the lens building to it. So I'm not sure.
Interesting.
Yep.
So moving on to something that is also super interesting is this new technology, this new AI technology is coming in from UC Berkeley and Google, where they are working to remove shadows from right now faces, but that's what they're mostly showing, but it's just images in general. So here are a few of the example images, where we can see everything from, older folks to young kiddos, different harshness of shadows, and they're able to just pull those right out. So it'll be interesting to see how this, like if this becomes a slider in Luminar or Capture One or Lightroom, or baked into our phones. With Google being part of this, I could see where it could become part of the Google Photos app or on the Android operating system, where it'll actually go through and remove the shadows from the images. And this is something that photographers, especially if you've shot a wedding, shadows are constantly plaguing you. You have to get you're at that time, you're just documenting how things, are going. And sometimes you end up with shadows, but you have to grab that photo. So this is going to be a great tool for photographers, I think, to be able to just remove those shadows directly from, and they seem pretty clean. I mean, there's still a lot of work to do here, obviously, but the photos, they look pretty clean.
Yeah, and this is another one where I'm torn on this one. On the one hand, is this the rise of the machines? Is the singularity approaching? Is AI going to take over the world? And all we need to do is point our phone at it, and the picture will magically appear better than we could have taken. It's that the photography hobbyist in me is a little worried about this. The photographer who is editing stuff in Photoshop and is frustrated because the sunlight was wrong, and would love to have the little slider that could do exactly what this does, and as well as this does, lifting shadows, is all for this. So I'm kind of torn on this one, but yeah, I'm sure this is going to be in the next Google camera, and coming to Apple and all the smartphones soon, I'm sure.
Absolutely. Moving on, Venus Optic announces a new super compact Laowa 11mm f4.5 for FE, but it's really just for mirrorless cameras in general. It looked like, I mean, obviously the title, it's from Sony Rumors, so they say FE, but I also noticed that they do mention M mount as well, which is like a M mount, which is full frame.
And Nikon Z and the L mount alliance has returned for this one too.
That's going to be so good on the L, especially with like the S1R.
Yep.
That's going to be a sweet lens. So let's break this down. So it's 11mm, so it's made for super wide, so more like landscape, seascape is where I see it. Could be a good gimbal lens, although not having focus. I don't know if that's going to be an issue, or autofocus. I don't know if that'll be an issue. Where I really see this is that f4.5. I don't really see it being a great astro lens. I mean, will it work? Sure, but it would have been nice to see something, a lot, that would allow for a lot more light to come in. So I definitely think this is meant to be more of a landscape type lens. It does have the filter threads up front, which is great, especially if you have a filter system that you want to, use your square filters on. And they've just been hitting it out of the park. I mean, quality wise, that was the last thing I wanted to say, is just the quality of these lenses. The Laowa stuff is super, super solid. I mean, it's very well built. We have a whole lineup here at the store, and our customers love the Laowa. I mean, we go through so much Laowa here at the store. So again, it's just another opportunity for our full frame users to have access to, other lens opportunities or other lens manufacturers for their cameras.
Yeah, and I think, like you said, I don't think this is meant for astrophotography, and Laowa has lenses that they have designed that are better for astrophotography, and they've even announced a wider lens than this, the 7mm for the FE and L mount and all the other ones. But this lens they designed to be as compact as they could make it. So this is meant to be a landscape, basically walking around lens if you need the world's ultra widest walking around lens. I think it's meant to be compact and portable, and definitely, like you said, a great landscape lens.
Right, and 126 degree angle of view. So I mean, that's That's awesome. And
Oh
19
boy.
centimeter minimum focus. So, I mean, the size of this is like under 3 inches. So super, super small. Again, I could see like taking this with when we were in Ireland, just because you didn't really have a ton of room inside like the castles and stuff, and through, a lot of the underground tunnels and stuff. This would have been the perfect lens for that. That's super dark down there. So I need that, larger sensor to, allow for more light to come in. I mean, this would have been a great lens for it.
Absolutely.
Moving on, Pentax Release, and I need like a laugh track. I'm sorry. If you're a Pentax shooter, I apologize. Pentax releases silver version of the K1 Mark II, the 70 to 200 2.8, the 50 millimeter 1.4, and the 85 millimeter 1.4. A silver edition. And Mike, these are new cameras that they came out with?
No, these aren't new cameras they came out with. This is the K1 Mark II, which was released in 2018, just in silver.
I don't know who was asking for this, but again, it's just our weekly or bi-weekly monthly reminder that Pentax, they're still around. We don't have a ton of Pentax shooters here in the area. But again, if you are looking for a silver 70 to 200, a 50 millimeter 1.4, a 85 millimeter 1.4, or a silver version of your K1 Mark II, it is now on the market.
Yeah, I kind of feel bad for Pentax shooters. It's like, come on, give me a lens or news about a new body or something other than a 2-year-old camera in silver. I mean, I shoot Fujifilm. I usually buy the silver bodies, so I understand wanting some options, but for a 2-year-old camera, come on, Pentax.
Right. And honestly, they're great cameras. They're some of the more rugged cameras. I mean, they definitely have a purpose. I just feel like the marketing is just super off with them, with Ricoh. And I don't think Ricoh is, really focusing as much on them as a brand to be able to grow them. And it's really unfortunate, because they could be the go-to DSLR for wildlife, for seascape, for landscape, because of how rugged their bodies are and some of the built-in features that they have. So again, we don't have a ton of users, but if there is Pentax users out there and you're thinking about getting a new K1 Mark II, why not get it in silver now? You have that option.
Yeah, so we did get a comment from Jackie saying that she likes the silver. It looks pretty. Of course, Jackie is one of the local Fuji reps, so silver cameras are right in her wheelhouse.
Absolutely. And then Mam Fan did comment, Leica made lenses in Canada for years, like we had talked about, until the early 80s. Leica opened a large factory in Portugal. That was back in 2013. So, they're not new, like you said, to this Portugal factory. But again, we don't know exactly, what they make there as of right now. But we know that they're making M lenses from here on out. So let's go ahead and jump into the old rumor roundup. So what do we got this week on the rumor roundup, Mike?
Well, this is my favorite stuff, is Fuji rumors, since I am a Fuji X shooter. I love this stuff. The first one is, I'm going to say that there are some other rumors floating around about release dates on this that we are not going to confirm or deny, because as a seller of camera bodies, certain people on this podcast may have insider information that they can't share.
And I can't share any of the information, but like stuff like this is fun because I know nothing about any of this. Like, this is stuff that is interesting to me, with a 30 millimeter, a 33, a 35. Now, are all of these lenses that are going to come out to the market then, do you think?
Yeah, so the long Fuji has announced that the 50 millimeter f1.0 is on their lens roadmap, and Chris, our local Fuji rep, did let slip during Pixel Connections Photofest a few weeks ago that it is coming soon. But from being a long-term Fuji fan, I believe that these lens patents, the 30, 33, and 35 f1.0 are just patents, because the other picture you have there is one that I believe was in the Fuji Summit back in 2019 when they changed their lens roadmap from saying we're going to do a 33 f1.0, and that is now going to be the soon to be announced, I hope, I'm ready to give them lots of my money, the soon to be announced 50 millimeter f1.0, because the 33F1 was huge. They said that it just didn't make sense for for the compact Fuji X lineup, and it would have had to have a lens foot or a tripod foot on it, which you can kind of see in the picture on there. So that said, if you design a lens, you patent that design so that if anybody else wants to use it, they either can't or have to give you money. So I think these are lenses that Fuji got through the design, and the optical design is great. It was just too big to be usable. So I think these are basically defensive patents that Fuji is filing. So yeah, that's, again, don't know anything official about this, but my gut is telling me that this is the 33F1 that isn't going to be coming out.
And then the other thing is Nikon F to Fuji XF adapter is coming soon, and that's from, I believe, Fringer is the manufacturer, and they've done EF now for a long time. So you don't really see Nikon F adapters coming out that often, and what I've seen in the past is they don't work the best, and that's because Nikon lenses are some of the hardest to adapt over to other systems, with Canon being the much easiest. I mean, you have the MC11, the MC21 adapters for E-mount and L-mount, and that just directly takes Canon over. There's a bunch of third-party with Metabones. They were one of the first. But Nikon, you don't really see very often. So, there's the Fringer feedback for EF has been very positive, and a lot of people love that adapter. So I'm hoping that we have a good quality adapter coming for Nikon F-Class, because I think that'll help people make that transition from Nikon over to Fuji just a little bit easier. I know I have Canon lenses that I adapt over, like my 100mm macro, and I love that lens. So for me, I wanted to be able to use that, so I just bought the Viltrox adapter, which we have here at the store, and it works great. I mean, it works. I'd say not as good as direct native contacts and native glass, but it works pretty well. So I'm hoping that the Fringer does the same for our Nikon fans out in the crowd.
Yeah, I know there are a lot of Fuji users who like to adapt lenses, especially vintage lenses, and especially Leica lenses, to their Fuji bodies, but there's a lot of great vintage Nikon F glass out there too. So I think this is a good thing for the system. My only thing was I was just kind of surprised it didn't exist already. So I was glad that TJ was able to provide me with the context that Nikon F is hard to adapt. I didn't know that.
Yep. So moving on, Japanese source explains why Sony is making the A5/A6. And I'm hoping that these are just drawings of like the A6000 bodies, and this isn't what the camera is actually going to look like, but maybe it will. We'll see.
Yeah, so that is the rumor, and this is an artist's rendering based on the rumor of what the A5/A6 is going to look like. But the interesting thing I found of this is, why is Sony doing this? And the answer is apparently the A7 II. So not the 3, not the current version. The A7 II, which they're selling for about $1,000, is selling really well. It's getting people into the Sony system. But it's also a 6-year-old, 7-year-old body that it's more expensive to build, and so their margins are really squeezed manufacturing it, because some of the old parts are hard to get and are expensive. So what they're going to do is the rumor is take the internals from the A7 III and put it in a more modern body, and one that's designed like their rangefinder A66,000 with a flippy screen and 24 megapixel sensor, according to the rumors. But I find it interesting that it's actually more expensive for them to keep manufacturing the old A7 II than it is to create a brand new camera, because they can then design it with cheaper parts. So they can get it in under that magic $999 price point.
And two, I have to think that sensor technology gets better over time and also less expensive to manufacture. So, yes, cheaper parts, but also they're holding on to old sensor designs and having to keep those old sensor, fabs, the actual production lines still up. So I could definitely see how making it, newer just does allow them to be cheaper. Moving on to our educational and tutorials block. So macro diffuser from a Pringles can? ?
Yeah. Step 1, eat a can of Pringles. I love this already. So if you're shooting macro, you need a lot of light, and you can go out and you can spend extra money on special mounts that focus your flashes right where you need them, or on ring lights that sit right around the lens. Or apparently you can eat a can of Pringles, grab scissors, and start making your own homemade lens diffuser. And I love this from another thing that I'm a sucker for is there's an Instagram called, and excuse my language, it is called Shitty Rigs. And it is people who have come up with the craziest solution for, I'm shooting a video and I need my camera here, and I've got some gaffer's tape and some baling wire and a couple of hangers and maybe a broom handle. Go. So this is a similar thing. You don't have to spend a lot of money sometimes to get the right solution. And in this case, the right solution is a Pringles can, and start munching.
Right. And basically you're cutting a hole in the Pringles can on the bottom, and looks like here it's the little flash that comes with the Fuji X series, and it's just popping right through there. And the light that's coming out looks pretty good. I mean, It's definitely not bad at all.
Right. And he said it helps that the inside of a Pringles can is reflective. It's got a metallic inside, so it helps
focus,
bounce the light around and focus it more towards the front.
Right.
So just a fascinating idea from someone who's obviously used to improvising.
And next time you come into Pixel Connection, Jim, you will see Pringles for sale on the counter for snacking and lighting, the newest lighting craze in the photo world.
Sour cream.
How I created this image using a custom backdrop. So are those like those LED sticky lights?
No, this is, again, this is a much higher end photographer. This video is amazing. The shots he's getting of the South Carolina University's football team, just like, I'm assuming he shoots for like Nike ads and that kind of stuff based on the rest of the video I saw. But this is my other favorite photography hack, which is foam core boards. Those are two 4 foot by 8 foot foam core boards with 1-inch slats cut into them, and then diffusion material behind them and a light behind that. So what you're seeing in the picture is when the light behind it is firing along with his other flashes. But what you're seeing next to that is the picture of what the board actually looks like until they take the picture. And it's another case of, improvising a pretty impressive look out of some pretty cheap materials.
Right. And the ability to create an image like that just on the field. It looks like they're at a training facility of some sort. So just to be able to pop that up there and get that without having the players have to come to a studio or, do any funky like photoshopping. I mean, I could see where that's pretty close to that coming out of camera just based on the setup that they have. So if you have an extra V flat hanging around at home and you want to put this together, we would love to see what you create. And you could cut different shapes into it too. I mean, it doesn't have to just be straight lines. It worked really well here, but that's a really, really cool idea. I like that a lot.
And this video is just fascinating from a behind the scenes viewpoint of a really high end sports portrait photographer, and watching how they work, and the little cans of smoke spraying in to get that little extra look in the pictures. And I just loved watching this video.
And we do have that for sale here. It's called Atmosphere Aerosol at the Pixel Connection. Comes in 1, 3, 5, 6, and I think 10 packs. Iconic or unique? So tell me a little bit about this.
So this was another fascinating video I saw. And the question they're asking is, we're always told don't shoot cliche photos. Come up with your own original take on the subject. But there are certain photos that are classics for a reason. I have on the right, the reason that I am a photographer, and I have a visual aid. The reason I am a photographer is when I went to the Cleveland Library in 1994, on the new bookshelf was this, which is Ansel Adams' photos of Yosemite. So you think I'm going to go to Yosemite and stand at tunnel view and see the whole valley spread out in front of me and not take that classic picture? Ansel Adams is on the top, mine is on the bottom. Of course I'm taking that picture. That's why I'm there.
Right.
But don't just take that picture. Don't just show up at tunnel view and snap and then walk off. Once you've got the classic picture, once you've got the iconic one that brought you there, start looking around, start working the scene. As he said in the video, you've got time, walk around, look at everything from different angles, see what you see. And the more you do that, the more ideas will come to you. So the answer to what they're asking is, in my opinion, it's not iconic or unique, but take the iconic and then start looking for the unique. Don't choose one or the other, do them both.
And that's where I just posted a photo this week on my Instagram of a barn like out in the field. And, I had this idea in my head of I just wanted a barn and then with the stars behind it. But after I got that shot, I went and got a light out of the car and I lit the barn from the outside or from the inside, facing out to get a different look and, trying all these different things. And Jim Summers, we actually went out shooting last week too. And we got the composition and then we moved and we try to get something a little more unique. It might not always turn out, but at least you have that. At least you tried. Don't just snap the picture and be so excited for the next thing that you're already moving on. And that's how like my first trip to Ireland was, because we went to so many different places. And my second trip to Ireland this past March was very much more calculated. It was taking the time to, set up the filters and, getting the tripod out of the car more than not. And it was that more, I've already been here once as a tourist. Now as a photographer, like I want to actually, focus on the shot and get images that I want to take home and print. So again, it's very, just because it's an iconic photo doesn't mean that, you shouldn't do it. Like I'm right there with you. Like definitely grab that photo so you have it and you can try to, up your skills so yours can, you can get something similar to someone that's, a master that's walked before us. But then again, get lower, get higher. Maybe, again, throw a filter on to get a different look, whatever that is, and kind of create your own shot. I think that's a really, really good takeaway that you put there.
Yeah. And sometimes, two things. One is I'm as guilty of anybody of getting there, seeing the iconic picture, taking it, and then saying, okay, I'm done. Time to go check off the next thing on the list. So part of this discussion is, I'm giving myself a pep talk. Hey, don't forget. But the other part is sometimes being there, maybe you're there at the right time. And the fascinating thing about the Ansel Adams set of pictures is he was in Yosemite for years, and he has so many amazing different pictures of this view in winter, in summer, this one with a storm coming in. It's sometimes just the repetition of going to the iconic place over and over and getting to know it can be as important. And so again, I guess the message is slow down, take a look around, see what you see. Don't just get the classic.
Absolutely. So I wanted to let you guys know, if you are looking for some inspiration, if you want to, push your photography to the next level, Photofest 2021 is right around the corner. So less than 400 days until next year. We have our little goal up there of how many people that we want to get there. We've already started working on getting speakers. We already have the location in downtown Cleveland. Again, it's July 27th through 29th. And then if you are a Pixel 2020, Pixel Photofest 2020 ticket holder, those tickets do roll over to 2021. So you're in the clear there. And then also for the videos, I've been fine tuning those. And we also have a survey for 2020 that will be getting sent out very soon as well. I know Les, you were asking about that. So that is coming soon. It's all done. It's just got to get the seal of approval and a couple of fine tweaks, but that will be going out. So we are trying to build the best Midwest conference that there is for photography, and we're pretty sure that we can do it. We have a lot of great partners in this, and 2021, it's going to be the best one that we've done yet. I mean, like I said, we've already started getting speakers. We already started putting together events. I know I was talking to Aaron Anderson about putting together like a Kiss tribute band and doing some of his cinematic portraiture. And there's actually a really good Kiss tribute band here in Cleveland.
That would be amazing.
Just so, and because his work is just, Aaron, if you watched his Photofest talk, it's just so good. So that's the type of experiences that we're looking to create. We talked about having live bands, again, very much experience driven. So again, 2021 is going to be the best one we've done yet. We're pulling out all the stops, and we've got a pretty big audacious goal of how many attendees that we want. So again, Tell your friends. If you're coming to 2021 because you are a 2020 customer, tell your friends, we want to grow this thing. The more people we get there, the more vendor support we get. Again, the better the conference is for absolutely everybody. So if you are looking for some of the workshops that we've done in the past, you can actually go onto our YouTube channel. If you go to youtube.com/thepixelconnection, you'll see all of the videos that I had done previously. But also I wanted to bring your attention to our website. If you go to thepixelconnection.com and just look for the tab for events or classes, you'll see that we have launched all of the September classes in there. So I want to say there's like 25 or 30 classes that we are offering. So we are working on doing an online version of those classes, but as of right now, those are in store and they are limited to 4 to 6 people in order to, make sure that everybody can keep a, safe social distance during COVID. So definitely check out our website for those. And if you wanted the previous stuff, check out our YouTube channel. Also, if you wanted to chit chat just a little bit more and you are a Lumix, Olympus, or Fuji shooter, and there will be other ones coming soon, I promise, definitely do a search for these user groups on Facebook. We would love to, hang out and chat. And we also do different, every week we have a new theme, and we just love hanging around, talking, chit-chatting like it's around the fire about our favorite camera brands. And we're also there as a resource to help each other out. Hey, I got this adapter for Canon glass. It's not working in this way, but it is working for this. Those are the type of conversations that happen there. And we're also super excited that, some of the reps join us as well. I know Chris from Fuji is a great resource to have in that Fuji fam group. We can't thank him enough for his support. And again, it's just a place for us to hang out and just share the love for those camera brands.
And I'm about to win the Ohio Fuji Fam Golden Hour Picture Contest by default, because as near as I can tell, I'm the only person who's actually posted a Golden Hour picture. So can someone else out there submit some to give me some competition? We could use it.
Exactly. Jump over to the Ohio Fuji Fam and give him a run for his money. That's what we want to hear. So a question did come out. How do I get the slides from today? Well, we do send these slides out every Friday at 6 o'clock. So as soon as I'm done here, I put the email together with all of these different links, and those go out. So if you're not signed up, head over to our website and click on the little newsletter sign up button. From there, you'll be in the list. You'll get all of the links for the videos, everything that we talked about today. And if you do have absolutely any questions, please feel free to reach out. Our email is sales or social at thepixelconnection.com. You can find us on Instagram at the.pixel.connection, on Facebook, The Pixel Connection, TikTok, just kidding, I'm not on TikTok. Or you can give us a call at the store, 440-934-1544. With that, I hope that you guys actually know, where can people find you? You're the most important person here.
Oh, well, I don't know about most important, but I'll be happy to say that you can find my food photography at dadcooksdinner.com and my food writing as well. Or you can look me up at Dad Cooks Dinner on most of the socials.
Absolutely. Well, I can't thank you enough for your time today and all your help with this podcast / live video. So thank you very much. But I don't know about you, but I think it's time to focus on the weekend. I hope everybody has an awesome day. Get out there and shoot something awesome this weekend, and you make sure you're using #ThePixelConnection. We'll see you guys later.
Bye, everybody.